Toshi, just a quick word from you on the race that your two are facing today. Can they realistically get up to the podium? What are your thoughts on the tyre degradation and the different strategies everyone's got to play with?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think on strategy there is options, but on the tyre degradation the McLarens were very good, and obviously Max coming from behind.
Is there a chance that one of your two could win this today, or is that going to be too far?
I think it's a long shot, but you can never discount that it's a motorist.
Thank you, Toto.
Well, you can't help but think that Lewis Hamilton's rejuvenated after that win at Silverstone. Then he got his 200th podium last weekend in Hungary, and he's driving exceptionally well. You can't write him off for a win, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think you can write off either of the Mercedes, really. They have got those two hard tyres available, which we think will come into play in these harder track conditions, but we don't quite know. And that team has been working so well together. The strategy calls they're making, the interaction between the driver and the pit wall, you can't rule either of those two out, I think.
The conditions are so very different today. We've got a bit of a brisk breeze, much warmer. How would the drivers be feeling about that?
I think they'll be feeling good about it. We had roughly similar conditions on Friday. The track obviously seems to be different. It's obviously been reset overnight with a lot of rain, lots of cars on track since they last went out in dry conditions. So it will be a little bit of a discovering phase in the first stint, and then I think teams will all be resetting what the expectations are on tyre life.
Okay, let's head over to Ted. What have you got for us?
Well, Natalie, you're talking about Mercedes. The crucial thing about Hamilton and Russell's car is that Mercedes have no idea whether the upgrades, the changes they made to the car between Friday and Saturday are going to work, because of course Saturday morning was wet, so Hamilton and Russell have no idea about the handling of the car underneath them. What we do have an idea of is that this car is literally held together with gaffer tape. Just have a look at the bit of carbon fibre either side of the exhaust pipe. I've just watched the mechanics have to tape it up with literally gaffer tape. So just a little thing that they want to be sure of. Everything is covered, and it certainly is.
Thank you, Ted. Also worth keeping your eye on Esteban Ocon and Alex Albon in 9th and 10th respectively. They have got phenomenal straight line speed. Okay, things are heating up here in Belgium. On the way next, get ready for the Belgian Grand Prix.
here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. One more Grand Prix before Formula One takes. And this is the sight. After the rain of yesterday, the sun has come out and we are set fair for an epic Belgian Grand Prix. Here's the starting grid then. Yuki Tsunoda, grid penalties for him after new power unit elements, so he starts last for the 8th time in his career, alongside Zhou Guanyu. Logan Sargent is 18th out in Q1 for the first time since Austria. Kevin Magnussen alongside him, and ahead of Magnussen, his teammate Nico Hulkenberg. Both Haas cars out in Q1 for the first time since Monaco 2023. Lance Stroll is 15th. Valtteri Bottas ended a run of 3 consecutive starts from 13th by starting 14th. 13th today goes to Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen with that 10th-place grid penalty starts 11th. He's never won from there in his career. Pierre Gasly keeps him company in 12th. Gasly's teammate Esteban Ocon is 9th, and Alex Albon, 4th top 10 start of the season for him in his Williams. Fernando Alonso celebrates his 43rd birthday tomorrow. He's 8th, alongside his Spanish compatriot Carlos Sainz. Then Oscar Piastri, 5th here for the 2nd year in a row. George Russell starts 6th on the grid from where he finished last year. Lando Norris starts 4th. It's his lowest start since Monaco, his highest ever start at Spa. Lewis Hamilton is in the top 3 for only the 3rd time this year. Sergio Perez starts on the front row, and he led the first lap last year, and he took the lead from the pole sitter Charles Leclerc, who inherited pole once again with that Verstappen penalty. There are a lot of drivers going into this race, Martin Brundle, who feel they've got a big chance today.
Absolutely. The job here today is survive turn 1, attack at turn 5, right up at the top of the hill at the Lecombe chicane. The tyres are up, and the top 12 are all on mediums, apart from Carlos Sainz, who's on the hard compound tyre. All of the tyre, 3 compounds are represented on the grid. Ricciardo, surprisingly, starting on the soft tyre. We think that won't last a great deal of time, but there is a high chance of safety cars here. 4 out of 5 of the last Grand Prix here have had a safety car. Then it's mostly mediums, apart from Zhou Guanyu on hard compound tyres on the back row of the grid. So the top 6 all on medium, closely followed by Sainz, who hope to run longer. They've got 2 new sets of hard compounds in Ferrari. If you get an early safety car, you're kind of wasting a set of them, aren't you? So that's what they've split their strategy on the 2 Ferraris.
Top 3 on the grid, Martin, identical to last year. So Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, they all know how it plays out in that top 3. Do you want to start on pole here, or is it better to start behind?
History tells you that you will get mugged at the top of the hill, doesn't it? If you lead through Rouge over the top of Radion, and it's a long climb, it's quite a slow, we've got a bit of altitude here as well, not that the electrification and the turbochargers on these cars notice that all that much, but you are punching a very big hole in the air for the chasing pack. It's increasing as well behind you for others. So if he leads into a Rouge, he probably won't lead into the braking zone of turn 5. And Perez knows that all too well because he's lost out that way as well, hasn't he?
He certainly has. Right, we're underway for the formation lap. Martin Brundle alongside me in the commentary box. Bernie Collins at Sky Race Control, and all the talk today, Bernie, high track temperatures and what it might do to the tyres in this race.
Yes, hello, Crofty. Delighted to be here with you in Race Control. This is going to be a really exciting race because the teams are going to have to react to the conditions they have today. They've not had these conditions all weekend. Higher track temperature, slightly different wind conditions. It's a tailwind as we see the cars now go up to turn 5, so tailwind here that they didn't have before. They're going to have to react and think on their feet. And to back up Martin's point on the high chance of safety car, 3 of the 4 safety cars that he's described have been on lap 1. So maybe that's why Ricciardo's taken a bit of a punt on those soft tyres, but let's see.
Lewis Hamilton with 3 first lap retirements here in 2009, 2012 and 2022. He's DNF'd at Spa more times than any other racetrack in his career. And this the day though, 11 years to the day since he won his first race for Mercedes at Hungary in 2013. And Martin Brundle, the track's been resurfaced since last year, and that is giving the tyres extra punishment as well.
It is, because it's generating a lot of grip and higher cornering speeds, putting pressure on everything on the car. What a glorious view, isn't it? Spa on a sunny day. It's just sensational out there. But I did have a drive around, as you mentioned earlier on in the programme, and it's like a billiard table out there. The track is absolutely pristine. It's beautiful. It's generating a lot of speed, but that, because they lost all day yesterday in the rain, they've got so much less information than they'd ideally want going into this race, as Bernie eloquently described there for us. So a lot of great unknowns out there, and as I said on the grid, I just so hope we don't lose a few chess pieces in the first corner, because we've got the longest track on the calendar, 7 kilometres, 4 1/3 miles. It's only a 44-lap race. The laps fly past here, but if you do have a problem or you get caught out with safety cars, you're a long way from home sometimes.
It seems a few of them are getting on with it on that formation lap. Lewis Hamilton was backing the pack up a little bit, and Leclerc and Perez got ahead, and it's all concertinaed a bit at the front now. If you want to ride on board at the start of this race with any of the 20 drivers, you can do so. You need your Sky Sports app and your Sky Sports login. We've got all the onboards and the team radio too, and that could be an interesting conversation you might want to tune into if you're watching on Sky Q, Sky Glass or Sky Stream. And now you can use your interactive button on your remote control. There is Sergio Perez making his way to the front row for his highest start since China.
Perez is pointing his car right. He wants to go over and try and head off the Ferrari. That means he thinks, well, or maybe head off Hamilton, so that he wants to really come out of that corner in second place, as bizarre as that sounds, but we've explained that one. But you can also see from some of those shots what a short run it is down to that first corner. That's why they're always such a tight pack when they get there.
137 metres from pole to the first braking zone, and Charles Leclerc has been sat on pole for some time, and he's still waiting for the grid to assemble. Yuki Tsunoda will be taking his place in a moment. That is Max Verstappen's view at the start of this race from P11. You can overtake here, and he's won from 14th and 10th before here at Spa, going for 4 wins in a row. Max Verstappen. Is there anyone out there that can stop him today? We're about to find out. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. And I think Lewis Hamilton got a really good start, but Sergio Perez comes up to try and cut him off, and it might be a bit too late. Charles Leclerc goes into the source. Hamilton on the inside, battling away with Sergio Perez. And there's Lando Norris getting onto the gravel already. And Oscar Piastri in hot pursuit of Perez and Hamilton. He's made up a place already, and Lando Norris has lost about 3 places here. Charles Leclerc leads them through Radion and down the Kemmel Straight. There goes Sergio Perez, trying to make an early move on Lewis Hamilton, who's in second place. George Russell's getting keyed on Oscar Piastri. Hamilton holds off into second. Piastri and Russell side by side through the chicane. Russell has to back out. Looks like that's Alex Albon also taken to the runoff area. What a dramatic start.
It was Norris getting a very poor start by coming out of the first corner on the gravel, as you saw. What helped Charles Leclerc there is that Perez and Hamilton were really fighting hard through the first corner and down the hill, and that gave him a little bit of breathing space, which means he did keep the lead in turn 5.
Max Verstappen behind Alex Albon, but he's up in the 9th place, and they've already cleared Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon. As we see Alonso coming through now, and he's got the Williams behind him, but Charles Leclerc leads this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez losing a place at the start as Lewis Hamilton went wheel to wheel with him into the source and then down through Eau Rouge. And now their foot flat to the floor, climbing back up the hill again and towards Blanchimont in the next braking zone of the bus stop chicane. And Perez is struggling to stay behind Lewis Hamilton and within touching distance. To the bus stop chicane we go now, and there is Charles Leclerc in the lead of this race. And Max Verstappen trying to make a move on Alex Albon, going round the outside. chicane. Lovely move by Max Verstappen. He's made up another place.
Yeah, that's the sort of moves he needs to make without damaging his tyres as he comes through the pack. So Max, needs to really press on, but not take too much life out of the tyres at this phase. And you saw the cars smoking through Watchalong. That's because they're laden with fuel. And here they go again into Eau Rouge. They will be lifting the throttle through Eau Rouge during the race to save the plank wear underneath and save tyre life as well. They will not take it as fast as they can.
Lewis Hamilton maybe having a look, getting a slipstream on Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz in the other Ferrari under pressure and being overtaken by Lando Norris. Now Norris was ahead going into the chicane, but he went wide and he's given the place straight back again to Carlos Sainz. Meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo down in 14th has lost a place and he's been overtaken by Lance Stroll. It might just have been repassed by Ricciardo.
Verstappen already on the back of Norris then with that squabble. So that was a key moment for Norris. He needed to get past the Ferrari of Sainz, who's on the hard compound tyres, and it's now put him into the jaws of Max Verstappen. Now we're going to find out just how fast the Red Bull is today.
He's never led a lap at Spa, despite starting from pole last year. Charles Leclerc continues to lead. DRS is enabled after the first lap here. That will help those chasing Charles Leclerc, and it will help Max Verstappen in his pursuit of Lando Norris too. Verstappen started 11th, is already up into 8th place.
Incredible so far. Leclerc leads P20 Sargent by only 10 seconds, and the rest are all fitted. They're so close together, the pack, the entire pack.
Alex Albon has been noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. We saw that at the chicane on the first lap. There's DRS for Lewis Hamilton once again, and it's very much helping him keep within touching distance of Charles Leclerc. And Leclerc could be under pressure here. If Hamilton gets a good exit from the source, Leclerc's going to be under pressure all the way down through Eau Rouge, up ready on and towards Le Mans.
Mercedes have got great race pace, there's no doubt about it. They've got 2 new sets of hard compound tyres, as have Ferrari as well. And this is a surprise from what we saw on Friday.
I thought Charles Leclerc could be in trouble. Looks like he is in trouble. Looks like he's lost the lead. Lewis Hamilton leads the Belgian Grand Prix on lap 3. He's got past Sergio Perez. He's now got past Charles Leclerc.
He has. Verstappen very close behind Norris as well in the DRS, but that Mercedes, tremendous pace on the medium compound tyres. George Russell hanging in there nicely too, and so is Sainz on those hard compound. And Norris a little bit wide there in through Rivage, and that's put Verstappen all over his gearbox.
Yeah, Norris is under pressure in this middle sector. The Red Bull's been very strong all weekend long, and I wonder if Max Verstappen can try and engineer an overtake at a part of the track where you don't normally see it. Meanwhile, with news on his teammate, here's Bernie Collins.
Hello, Crofty. So yeah, just listen to Perez's video there. He's asking what's wrong with his battery. It sounds like he's down on deployment, and that was why Piastri closed very close up to lose within the DRS, but he's not really getting an answer from the pit wall yet.
And we have a very slow-moving Sauber of Zhou Guan Yu, who started 19th, and he's just coming down towards Puon. Looks like he's freewheeling down there.
I'm losing power, guys. Also losing hydraulic with it. I try, mate. I try to bring it back.
Well, he's going to struggle to get up the hill. I would have thought he's got a very long way to go, Martin.
He has, and if the team sense that's not getting back to the pits, they're obliged to get him to pull over somewhere sensible. Otherwise, we'll be seeing a safety car, at least a virtual safety car. But at the moment, Zhou Guan Yu is still moving.
He's just got to the Fanier chicane. The pace that Lewis Hamilton and the pack have got, they'll catch him up on this lap before he gets to the pits. He'll have to watch out just a touch. This is Lando Norris. Max Verstappen right behind him. Norris has got DRS because he's within a second of Carlos Sainz. Verstappen has got DRS because he's within a second of Lando Norris, and that DRS giving you an extra 12 kilometres an hour of extra pace when you are within a second of the car in front.
What Lewis Hamilton can do now, we saw how good he was at this in Silverstone when he won. Just look after his tyres. He's not in the turbulent air anymore. Babysit those tyres to get rid of a bit of fuel, get a bit further into the Grand Prix. Because at the moment, Verstappen in 8th is only 5 seconds off the lead. So 5 seconds covers the top 8. and that is key for later on.
Zhou Guanyu, last classified finisher in 4 of the last 6 races, looked like he was going to be the first retirement here today, but I think he's got going again. They might have found a default to sort the problems out in his Sauber. He's not got into the pits, he's carried on, he's completed the lap, and we are on lap 4 of 44. And Lewis Hamilton, for the second time this season, leads a Grand Prix. The only other time was Silverstone, and he went on to win that race. Martin.
Yep, Control-Alt-Delete there, and off he goes. No further investigation on Alex Albon. He didn't gain any positions, and Zhou Guanyu confirming there. Okay, to continue. And so, no safety car to intervene then, and still the pack are pretty much either just leaving the last chicane or just entering it. You can see there for yourselves.
Carlos Sainz started in 7th place. He's up to 6th. And as you mentioned, those hard compound tyres holding on very nicely for him. This might have been a strategy masterstroke for Ferrari here to put Sainz on the hard tyres at the start. They've got 2 sets, new sets of the hard tyres in this race.
And Leclerc might, if he were telling you exactly where he was on the detection, Leclerc might still have DRS. Doesn't look like he has. And nor is Perez on Leclerc either. And that's why Piastri's having a look at the inside.
I was going to say, Piastri's got DRS, and he was a couple of car lengths from making a move there on Sergio Perez, but he stays in 4th place. And unlike last year, he's got to lap 5 in this race. He started 5th last year, and he was pretty much out of it after tangling with Carlos Sainz at the first corner. Let's have a look then at the charge towards the source, and a replay of the start. Watch Hamilton from 3rd. Gets a great getaway.
Yeah, he really did, didn't he? And that stopped Perez for his sort of cunning plan, wasn't it? Tuck him behind the Ferrari. But Lewis Hamilton was there, and this is where you can see Lando Norris dipping his left rear tyre into the gravel, sort of by himself, really. And that is what surprised Perez, to find Lewis Hamilton there, who was yielding nothing. As they squabbled a little bit wide through La Source, it gave Leclerc the breathing space he needed as they're still going at it side by side down the hill.
Sergio trying to do exactly what he did last year, but this time Lewis Hamilton was there, and that stopped his momentum. We'll look now from the helicam. You can see how close it all got. That's when Lando Norris lost momentum, passed by Russell, passed by Sainz, and almost passed by Alonso, who got checked by Norris there.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso had to get out of it, and that saved Norris losing another place or 2. Max Verstappen was so careful through the first corner. He was almost in danger getting run into from behind. So again then, Hamilton and Perez sort of holding each other up a little bit as Piastri fancied a run past George Russell, took the place, and obviously nobody was concerned about that because it was Russell off the road.
Yeah, went off the road and realised he couldn't stay ahead. Lewis Hamilton has broken the DRS threat of Charles Leclerc. He is over a second ahead. Piastri still chasing down behind Sergio Perez, while McLaren chasing a Red Bull, and then there's a Red Bull chasing a McLaren, with Verstappen still very much in touch with Lando Norris. Bernie, to you.
Yeah, so quickly on the Ferrari strategy that you mentioned there, Crofty, because they've split the cars, they are getting very, very valuable information for Leclerc at this stage of the race.
And we are still at a loss as to what that might be, but let's hope it's nothing serious.
Yeah, it's always a worry when you hear that on the radio, Crofty. But yeah, just what I was saying with the 2 Ferraris is they're getting valuable information for what Leclerc is going to put on that car in the second stint. He has a choice between a medium and a hard, where some people in their second stint is more set in stone.
Yeah, 2 new sets of hards for the 2 Mercedes, the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez have 2 new sets of medium tyres to take into this race. That's what they committed to early on. In these conditions, could that hard tyre be the one? Ted Kravitz, down to you in the sunshine.
A couple of things from down here. First of all, Zhou Guanyu is losing the hydraulics, so that problem did not magically fix itself. And as we speak, he passes me in the pit lane. It sounds like he's actually turned the car off. So Zhou Guanyu is the first retirement from this year's Belgian Grand Prix. And Sergio Perez has been on the radio. He's not happy with the car, Crofty. Not at all. And that's giving Hamilton and Leclerc some breathing space from Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Norris and Verstappen, who's still going well in P8.
Oh, what a shame for Zhou Guanyu.
Absolutely. This pace of Hamilton's is really quite something up front. As they broke the DRS, It's Perez is a little bit of a cork in the bottle there for Piastri, who just can't power his way past. And that's kind of letting the front two just sneak away a little bit. Verstappen now 7 seconds off the lead, and I wonder if Red Bull, as we're heading towards quarter distance, obviously on lap 11, but in the neck between 7 and 11, if Red Bull might not think about, look, we might need to pull the pin there and push a little bit harder.
No, you're right. The trouble they've got, of course, is they've only got one set of the hard tyres. Now, the undercut is powerful here. You stop before the car in front, you will be significantly faster on your outlap and you'll make up a place, but you might pay for it later on in the race if you're trying to do too many laps on the tyres, and they've not got 2 sets of hards to play with.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, but if he's got more pace, Max, what he can't afford to do with that tyre conundrum you mentioned is leave any grip in the pit lane that he's got out there on those medium compound tyres. He needs to use all the grip if he's got any more speed left, because he's just fading away a little bit off the lead now.
What we've got is a bit of a DRS train, but that train might be a carriage or 2 less, because Piastri is now not within DRS range of Sergio Perez. George Russell is within DRS range of Oscar Piastri, but only just. Sainz is holding on to Russell, Norris to Sainz, and Verstappen then to Norris. But if those carriages start to disappear, that will then help Max Verstappen.
Yeah, a DRS train in there. They've all got DRS effectively, and they're just going along in line, and that's what we see quite often. When they're quite close together. But as you say, they're beginning to just drop out of that 1 second zone now.
Now here's interesting. Nico Hulkenberg has come into the pits. Now he was running down towards the rear. He's put the hard compound tyre on, but after starting on the mediums, they've decided at Haas, we've had enough of that. And 8 lap on lap 8, that's the time to come in. And all the simulations that were done on Friday were done in warm conditions, but not as warm and sunny as the track temperature conditions that we're seeing currently. So it's a little bit of guesswork going into this race from the teams. But I have to say, Carlos Sainz on those hard tyres looks to be a very wise choice. He's gaining on Russell. Russell now is not within DRS range of Oscar Piastri and looking a bit vulnerable.
So once again, Hamilton, 1 minute 49 is out front, comfortably the fastest man out there. Third fast, second fast rather is Perez, and Verstappen now nearly 8 seconds off the lead. And while this race pace for Mercedes, we know they went back a little bit on some of their upgrades, and we didn't see this race pace in the running on Friday at all. This is new news, and it's going to be there's going to be some scrambling going on the pit wall for the strategy, because Lewis has suddenly turned into a contender. This is not about McLaren and Red Bull.
Did you have him on your contenders list, Bernie Collins?
I think I said at the top of the show that we shouldn't discount him, but I didn't expect him to be at the lead at this stage so early on, Crofty. But this is interesting now with Hulkenberg boxing, as you say. That is going to open the pit window behind for these guys. So what we mean by that is there's going to start to become a space for them to box into. And like Martin said, does that give Verstappen or someone who's frustrated with traffic in that pack an opportunity to jump now?
Now, it's given the others a real opportunity. Alex Albon, as you can see, pitting. Daniel Ricciardo pitting to get rid of the soft tyres. Sargent pitting as well. Sainz closing in on Russell. Norris and Verstappen right behind these two. Ted, down to you.
Nice stop from Williams, because they stacked the cars. They pitted Albon and then Sargent on the same lap.
Oscar, plan A or B? What do you think?
I think A.
So standard 2-stop, we'll see what happens with that. Lewis is saying that his tyres are starting to grain up. The response, yes, that's okay, but get on top of your lift and coast. The lift and coast. Do you want to explain that, Bernie or Martin?
I'm happy to explain that. It's because there hasn't been a safety car, so they'll fuel there, hoping something. They don't want to be any heavier than they have to be on the grid, and so they assume something will happen to help them with their fuel, virtual or actual safety car. And therefore lift and coast means lift early and let the aerodynamics, let the drag slow the car down, and then brake, so you're off the throttle more of the lap, using less fuel. You're going to start bringing the fuel back, so you always start the race without quite enough fuel in it, and it's unusual here in that you don't have an in-lap either. Yeah. They go straight into the pit lane. It's such a long lap, and that means
Tyres are still okay. Rears are definitely dropping.
easy standard punishment for Spa, and he's 10 laps into this race, and he's over 2 seconds clear now of Charles Leclerc.
It's something you have to do a lot in sports car racing, lift and coasting. It's absolutely extraordinary just how fast you can go doing that, how good you can get at it in terms of lifting off early and braking later.
We'll start to see how powerful his undercut is, as well as Pierre Gasly now stops. Yes, that is an Alpine. It is red and yellow with a special tribute livery for this race, as opposed to their usual blue, black and pink. Oscar Piastri moving out. Lando Norris moving out, maybe to get some cooler air going through his McLaren as he's stuck still behind Carlos Sainz. Good stop for Gasly, 2.6 seconds, but Albon and Ricciardo have undercut him, and he comes out down in 17th.
Lando teasing the gravel again out of Malmedy corner, and to an extent when Max ducked around it, there was so much coming his way. But once again then, they're kind of stuck in a queue, aren't they? But 9 seconds now covers the top 8, and the inevitable gap then back to Alonso is sort of the second part of the race.
What a Belgian Grand Prix this is turning into. And the top 8 covered by just 9 seconds currently. And I know we're 10 laps into it, but it is the longest lap of the season here at Spa-Francorchamps. When we get to about lap 13, we've raced the distance between Spa and where Max Verstappen was born, in Hasselt, in Belgium. And dare say, if he was going back to the old family home, it might take him a little bit longer given the traffic queues around here. But he's down in 8th place at the moment, made up 3 places from the start, but he's just having now to be patient and is now coming into the pits. So Red Bull have pulled the trigger and they are going to try and undercut Lando Norris. George Russell has also pitted for Mercedes as he tries to pull the undercut on Carlos Sainz. The crews get to work, and it was a neat stop by George Russell's crew. 2.3 seconds for Verstappen, 4/10 slower, stationary. Now they'll come out, hopefully for them, ahead of Alex Albon. I think that's the gap they're looking to try and feed back into. As we see going round the first corner. No, it's not working because Yuki Tsunoda has gone through. George Russell right behind Yuki Tsunoda. Now he'll clear Yuki quite quickly there, and then he might have a decent gap to try and get his own pace run in this race. But the undercut is on then, and how quickly do the likes of Norris and Sainz respond as George Russell does clear Yuki Tsunoda?
Yeah, he's got to just get a little bit of heat into those tyres, but he's got enough grip. It's a massive effect here, the undercut. A fresh set of tyres on this beautiful racetrack, so many high-speed corners, pays you back. And now the front runners are going to be very nervous about Russell and Verstappen as they look at the sectors on their outlaps and their own drivers' in-laps.
And those that are particularly worried, as we watch a replay here of Nico Hülkenberg for Haas, up to the chicane. That's Pierre Gasly that Hülkenberg has got past. Those, the likes of Norris, Sainz, Piastri, they haven't got DRS to try and aid them and give them extra pace on this lap. And you would imagine they're going to have to respond fairly quickly.
And it's Sainz is the only one of that lot who's done a personal best, and the Mercedes, unsurprisingly. And Verstappen has still not made it past the RB then. This is the kind of pain you get when you've got to try to do an alternative strategy.
Lewis Hamilton pits, and also Sergio Perez pits, and Oscar Piastri pits too, and George Russell goes through on Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Charles Leclerc continues then on his way. Carlos Sainz on the hard tyre continues on his way. Lando Norris continues on his way, as does Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll. And out now comes Lewis Hamilton as Ocon goes past and down towards Eau Rouge. Then comes Lance Stroll, Sergio Perez, George Russell, and Russell ahead then of Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. Ted, down to you.
I think Oscar Piastri lost a little bit of time as Lewis Hamilton was released into his path. We'll see how close it was, but it looked pretty close.
Piastri's coming straight back at George Russell again. He got a great slipstream there. They're going wheel to wheel towards the chicane, and Piastri is just ahead. Going into Les Combes chicane, Piastri up into 9th. Important to him that he got straight past George Russell, and Charles Leclerc's coming in at the end of this lap.
Only now are they going to box Leclerc. The same for Norris. They didn't want to double stack the two McLarens by the looks of it. And now we'll see if they've taken any pain as well. But Piastri putting that right immediately, and that was important for him.
Now, Carlos Sainz on the hard tyre, I think he's potentially going to be undercut here by the likes of Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. But he can go a little bit longer, and his pace is going to be okay. And Charles Leclerc, who is meant to be coming into the pits, doesn't necessarily think that's a great idea. Sergio Perez finding himself behind Lance Stroll and ahead of Oscar Piastri, and in a right old scrap that he probably doesn't want to be in after his pit stop.
And Leclerc pits. So yeah, you can't really. The driver hasn't got enough information to make that call. So Leclerc does pit. Sainz then, having not pitted yet, nor Norris, carry on.
Still, Lance Stroll holds up Sergio Perez. Now Lance Stroll pits and Perez is freed, but he has got two cars with pace right behind him and make that three, because Verstappen's right on the tail here as well. Leclerc comes out from his pit stop. Sainz takes the lead from Lando Norris, who's still going. Leclerc comes out ahead of Sergio Perez. They couldn't leave it any longer there for Charles Leclerc to make that pit stop, otherwise he'd have been overtaken.
Yeah, that was going to be the wrong call from the driver there. The team had to get him in the pits, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix by a mile now is Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and his teammate Sergio Perez under pressure. There goes Oscar Piastri. Piastri has gone past Sergio Perez. This is not turning into a good afternoon for Perez at the moment.
No, those hard compound tyres on the McLaren look mighty, don't they? Absolutely flying since he came out on those. There's Oscar Piastri taking two key rivals in within 2 laps, and he can get on his way now after Leclerc.
So Leclerc was leading, and it's his teammate now, Carlos Sainz, who's out in front. But Bernie Collins, Sainz, Norris, well, just look at the pit stops here. Lewis Hamilton pitted, then comes Perez. Hamilton gets out just ahead of Oscar Piastri, who was coming in, and that looked fairly close. There was plenty of distance, wasn't there, in between the two of them there. Watching now Max Verstappen, we saw him trying to get past Yuki Tsunoda, and Tsunoda not doing him any favours whatsoever, making Max have to work for this overtake. It's for track position after all. Down the inside goes Max Verstappen, he gets his man eventually. Bernie Collins, let's go see who.
Yeah, so just coming in quickly on strategy, Crofty. This is about the point we should optimally stop to get the best out of these tyres. But like you said, I think we're seeing that the hard tyre at this stage seems to be performing much better than the medium. Let's see if that continues. Already, Sainz and Norris would drop to the back of this pack, so they've been undercut by a number of the drivers here. So for them, it is going to be about getting the best tyres at the end of this race.
Yeah, don't go anywhere this afternoon. This could boil up into an absolute thriller here at Spa.
Absolutely right. All the key players are still very much in the game, aren't they? As Piastri sets a new benchmark of a 1:47.5, and that was important because it kept him out of danger with the following Perez, who might fancy repassing him. So this is a key phase now for Piastri. He can get down the hill, and after Leclerc and Hamilton, he brings himself right into play, bearing in mind they've got another new set of hard compound tyres available.
Are you surprised that McLaren haven't pitted Lando Norris yet?
Yes, but you know, they will have a better tyre, and it means a lot here. It's the offset they were doing, the Red Bull were doing with Verstappen.
No, 100% pace, please, 100% pace.
Get the feeling that stop might be coming at the end of this lap.
Losing. So, yeah. They want to try and give him a bit of a tyre offset, give him a bit more grip, but I think he's going to come out, as Bernie said, in a not very nice place in the race.
Might find himself behind Max Verstappen, but we've seen those hard tyres look pretty handy on his teammate Oscar Piastri, and he'll have 2 sets of those to take to the end of this race after he stops the second time. He is not going to box at the end of that lap. He carries on, as does Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton on that last lap, 1.4 seconds faster than Lando Norris, about 9/10 of a second faster than Carlos Sainz. Hamilton's pace on the hard tyre still looking pretty impressive.
Yeah, Norris lost 1.4 seconds on the previous lap of time, so he needs to get on those hard tyres ASAP. He probably wishes he was already on those.
Ted, down to you.
So McLaren Mechanics just testing the wheel guns, that they work and everything is fine, ahead of Lando's stop in the next lap or two, or will it be 3? Ferrari will let off the...
Straight line speed is a joke.
Lance Stroll thinks he's a little slow in a straight line. Talking of straight lines, along the Camel Straight, we're on board with Alex Albon, making the pass on Yuki Tsunoda, who's still to stop in this race. Ted, down to you.
So McLaren still waiting. Ferrari will let off, even though they were a little lap late with Charles Leclerc by the fact that Sergio Perez wasn't really a factor, hadn't done enough in that stint. So Leclerc still nicely behind Hamilton as he was. And you know, we're going on about how Red Bull are in a bad position because they have to run a medium tyre at the end of the stint, Crofty. They had a look at Max's medium tyres from the first stint, and they've said that there's plenty of wear still on them. So they've reassured Max that it's going to be absolutely fine, no problem for them running the medium at the end.
And that is what I was talking about, of not leaving any grip, not bringing any grip back to the pits with you. Box, 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 pit, pit, pit for Lando Norris. And this kind of feels a little bit out of sequence to me, but let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, you're going to lose about 18.5 seconds, or 19 seconds for the pit stop. He's coming out behind Max Verstappen and ahead of Kevin Magnussen if everything goes according to plan. He stops on his marks, the pit crew do their job, and away he goes, all very nice indeed. 2.3 seconds, quick stop there. Verstappen into turn 1 as Norris at 80 kilometres an hour on the inside at the source will now get back out onto the track again. What he has got is a few seconds between himself and Max so that he can nurse these tyres, bring them in under no pressure, Martin, and then for McLaren, their hope is that he can get the overtaking done later in the stint when he's going to need to.
Yeah, I don't think warm-up's a problem on these tyres like it was in Hungary last weekend, because you've got such high-speed corners and generating an awful lot of energy. So, as you say, that's popped Lando right to the back of the leading bunch. But at least he's got the right tyres and he's got a couple more laps of life in them.
I suppose if he'd have come out, if he'd have boxed a couple of laps ago, Bernie Carson, we'll just watch Carlos Sainz for a moment. Kicking up the gravel a little bit, going way too deep into the first part of Stamina there. And that is our race leader, just struggling there for grip under braking. He doesn't want much more of that. Meanwhile, Esteban Ocon on his teammates Pierre Gasly, nicely done on the inside at the source. Martin.
Yeah, that's a great shot, isn't it? Following a car through there, you have total trust that car in front of you will not suddenly slow down, break down or anything, because you're committed, you're flat out, and that's the only way to do it. But that's a nice overtake. The livery, the newly liveried one-race livery, in fact.
I hope so. I hope so.
Fernando, we are going to try and undercut Carlos. We think it will happen for free, but we want to do that, then we'll worry about it.
Okay, Bernie Collins, tell us about McLaren's strategy.
Yes, well, I was actually going to come in a little bit on that. For Carlos lost him 3 seconds in that Crofty, and he had a bit of margin to Norris at that stage, and maybe that's why Ferrari have extended a little bit and then not boxed the next lap, because effectively now he has been undercut by Norris just because he lost that time in a single lap where he could have been trying to defend. Yeah, the McLaren are saying that they're trying to undercut Ferrari, maybe to push them a little bit into a pit stop, but they have actually now at this stage undercut Sainz.
I think I tried to get them, mate. What do you think? Have a go.
Yeah, go and attack. Don't worry about managing your tyres. Bernie, back to you.
Yeah, and I was just going to come in a little bit then on Verstappen. I'll pick up off that video. Verstappen's problem at this stage is that he has Perez just ahead of Russell. So Perez is towing Russell down the street, as we can see, and giving Russell that DRS, and that is hampering Verstappen's overtaking opportunities. So can Red Bull do anything about that? Because Norris is going to very quickly start to close that gap.
There's no doubt about it. Max hasn't had a magic carpet ride through the pack, has he? Whether it's back markers, whether it's front runners, nothing's really fallen.
Okay, Lando, Carlos has stayed out. We've already got the gap, so the opportunity here is to pass the cars who we've got a tyre advantage over.
because you're on fresher tyres than those that you're chasing. Just a thought about this, had McLaren have stopped Lando Norris 2 or 3 laps earlier, Martin, he'd have come out right behind Max Verstappen, but in that DRS train, where he would be a lot closer, and that would wear his tyres a bit as well. So maybe that was part of McLaren's thinking.
Could well be. And now, should Verstappen get past Russell, which won't be the work of a moment, knowing George, he's pretty feisty and rightly so, but he's got a lovely slipstream down the hill, has Verstappen. He'll have charged his battery up. Russell will know he's coming, but how's this going to look when they get into Les Combes? We're about to find out. Slipstream, DRS open, DRS a little bit later this year. It's definitely calmed down some of the overtakes up there, hasn't it? And look at that, nowhere near him. So George using, as Bernie said, the DRS of the other Red Bull in front of him, and no doubt his battery in a very helpful way as well. But I wonder, should he pass George, what will Red Bull do between the two Red Bull drivers?
Well, it's a very good point. Here's Pierre Gasly, the Haas in front of him. Nico Hülkenberg is not going to be in front for long. Gasly dives down the inside, makes a very nice move there. Plenty of room because Nico Hülkenberg wasn't necessarily fighting that. The situation we've got, Martin, is that Sergio Perez, with George Russell being so close, that's not helping Max Verstappen. But Russell holding up Verstappen is probably helping Lewis Hamilton, albeit they're separated by a few places on the track.
Yeah, but Norris caught 9/10 on the last lap, so he's got a 4 on second gap. I still don't think it's played out particularly well for Lando here, but he has got a chance to recover some of it.
3.5 seconds, the deficit from Max Verstappen to Lando Norris. As Carlos Sainz continues to lead this race, and the gap now down to just over 4 seconds. And Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc both lapping about a second faster than Carlos Sainz, who is the only driver who hasn't pitted yet.
I think in plan B for medium, I think they cannot go to the end. Let's wait a couple more laps. Okay, copy.
And then see if we can go to the end.
See if we can do a one-stopper. I mean, the mediums have looked pretty good, haven't they? They don't look as fast or as strong as the hard compounds with the white markings on them. But Carlos knows that basically he's not got a huge amount to lose, has he? If he tries to run stop Ted.
But he's also doing really good lap times considering that he's still on that hard tyre from the start. In fact, Tom Stella, Oscar Piastri's engineer, has just informed Oscar about that and said Sainz still from the hard tyres from the start, still doing high 148s, low 149s, whereas Piastri is a 148.1. So yeah, Sainz showing that either the degradation on the hard tyre is very low or that he's just managing them beautifully.
Hülkenberg, who was one of the early stoppers, has been on these hard tyres for 11 laps now. Just lost a place to Valtteri Bottas. I wonder if his tyres are starting to go off. We're riding on board with Daniel Ricciardo. This is a nice little battle, this Albon and Ricciardo, who both managed to jump Fernando Alonso in the pit stops. They're running the mediums at the moment. Alonso, Ocon, Gasly on the hard tyre in the scrap for the minor points places, which I think is really up for grabs today between Williams, between RB with Ricciardo, and with Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso. And Alpine with Esteban Ocon, and we can see how Valtteri Bottas managed to get past Nico Hülkenberg fairly straightforward into the chicane.
A bit of wiggling around there, considering they're doing a couple of 100 miles an hour, but they all survived it. And here we go then. So once again, look at George Russell with DRS behind, and there's no doubt about it. Perez is helping keep Russell in front of Verstappen and almost pulling away a little bit.
Perez is, we're led to believe, Martin, performing for his Red Bull future. And he's performing in a way that he wants to show them just exactly what he can do in terms of getting his car as far up the grid on qualifying and as far up the field on race day as he possibly can.
Piastri's, here we go. Piastri's pace has just faded a little bit since the early laps on the hard compound tyres. Don't know if he pushed it a bit too hard, but he's sort of settled in now around and about the pace of Hamilton and Leclerc.
Carlos Sainz leads. He has still yet to pit, and if he pitted now, he'd come out behind Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton, who was the early leader after overtaking Sergio Perez, runs in second and is still lapping a second clear of Carlos Sainz, who is finally going to get rid of these hard compound tyres. They did give it a couple more laps at Ferrari. He's coming in at the end of this one.
As always, you loved those tyres half an hour ago. Now you can't wait to see the back of them.
Right, on board with Esteban Ocon. We heard Lance Stroll saying the Aston Martin speed in the straight line was a bit too slow. And Esteban Ocon, who was the fastest guy through the speed trap in qualifying in that first sector, showing just how much pace the Alpine has in that part of the track compared to Alonso's Aston Martin.
Yeah, well, we're definitely seeing that the pack have caught up with Red Bull, haven't we? Definitely, you know, we watched Max just scythe through this lot before, almost at will. Sainz pits from the lead onto the medium compounds. Will he be able to get those to the end of the race? Bearing in mind, of course, the track's rubbering in a little bit. We're approaching now half tanks of fuel rather than full tanks of fuel. If he can babysit those, he'll be doing very well.
Lando Norris is now 2 seconds behind Max Verstappen. We're told if you're about half a second quicker in terms of your lap pace, you've got a chance of overtaking the car in front. We'll see if Norris has got that pace on the Red Bull. Meanwhile, Perez under pressure from George Russell this time, and George Russell has now finally cleared his man. Now, he's been keeping within DRS range for some laps, and finally he had the opportunity to go for it, and he did. Russell's up to fourth now. To Red Bull tell Perez to let Verstappen past.
They have to, don't they? They have to. They cannot let if Max, we saw Sergio there, giving it plenty of throw in the back end of his car, complaining a little bit. And I think Max will have a very good chance anyway on the next lap. But they do not want to waste more than a tenth or two if they can help it, let alone a second or two, while they get Verstappen through, because it looks like it's going to happen anyway.
I think for Verstappen to finish ahead of Norris today, you're absolutely bang on there, Martin. They just can't waste any time here. Norris has got the pace on Max Verstappen. He's a second a lap quicker at the moment, and all the time Verstappen spends behind his teammate is just allowing Norris to get ever closer. And look, the gap now almost in DRS range for Norris on Verstappen. So can Verstappen try and get past Perez through Blanchimont up towards the bus stop chicane? Look how George Russell has pulled clear of Sergio Perez, who's coming into the pits. So it's no team orders in terms of let him pass, but Perez is caught into the pits, and that then releases Verstappen in the nick of time.
Well, that solved the problem, didn't it? Doesn't feel like he needs a pit stop now, does it? That's as the hard compound tyres go on.
Well, that's half race distance. Is this hard tyres to the end of the race then for Sergio Perez? They did bring him in fairly quickly there. Perez had done how many laps?
11. He'd done 11 in the first stint, 10 in the second stint. You'd think they would have gone a little bit further, but anyway, it solved their problem, didn't it, with Verstappen?
Bernie Collins, to you.
Yeah, it's exactly the right thing, I think, for Red Bull to have done in that instance. It solves the Talon driver to move over instance. It gets Perez onto these hard tyres that he has, because he did a medium tyre middle stint, whereas Verstappen's actually reversed in that policy. So Verstappen, as we know, has the medium to go on at the end. And because we've just seen Sainz and the Ferrari do a very long hard stint, 21, and still get good lap times at the end, it means that Perez has a chance to begin now to undercut these cars ahead and give them a bit of a headache and allow Verstappen a lovely free track ahead.
Intriguing.
Next up, we're watching Norris, who's almost within DRS range now of Max Verstappen. There is the fight I'm talking about. And Verstappen himself is out of DRS to Russell now. So if Norris has got extra pace, now's the time to use it.
Hamilton leads 2 seconds, the gap between himself and
Leclerc is blow on the straights.
Maybe Sergio was complaining of a potential deployment for the energy system at the start.
Yeah.
Maybe that's still hampering him just a touch on that one. Piastri in third with George Russell behind him, and Russell on the last lap about 4/10 slower than Oscar Piastri. Then comes Verstappen in fifth, and Lando Norris in sixth and in DRS range. Now Red Bull are very efficient with their DRS. McLaren think less so. Let's see how this pans out.
But we know that McLaren trimmed their car a little bit, assuming a dry race. So it's quite a long way behind going into Eau Rouge. And releases off the top of Radion. It's a lot of work to do if he wants to have half a chance of overtaking. When he gets down to Le Combe, he's a bit too far behind.
Yeah, just a touch. Even with that DRS, he still needed probably another 75 metres, Martin, of DRS, so to try and get past.
But it's definitely killed the easy overtakes, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
Just changing that DRS.
Which I think is a good thing. Plus, you've got a tailwind as well on that straight, which doesn't help as much when it comes to overtaking. So the battle for fifth continues on. Out in front then, still Lewis Hamilton. Now that Sainz has pitted, Hamilton is back controlling this race once more. As I said, it's the second time this season he's led a Grand Prix, and the other one was the British Grand Prix, and he went on to win that. Meanwhile, on board with Daniel Ricciardo getting an overtake done, Ricciardo getting an overtake done on Logan Sargent. Ricciardo has pitted twice in this race, Sargent just the one so far, and then there is Yuki Tsunoda now, right behind the Williams for that scrap. So Ricciardo started on the soft tyre, they pulled him in early, and he's pitted early for a second time and trying to undercut the likes of Esteban Ocon and Alex Albon. They're the guys he's really racing with.
Indeed, so that's put Perez then. I'll keep an eye on his lap times. He's fastest man in the middle set of the entire Grand Prix, so Perez is enjoying the grip of those. Can he haul himself back onto the tail of the front runners when they pit stop? He's got a lot of work to do. He's still got to get those tyres quite a long way, hasn't he, Sergio Perez, even though he should be fine now.
He's undercut George Russell. When Russell pits, he'll come out behind Sergio Perez, but once again, the trade-off is on much fresher tyres. Just like with Lando Norris, who pitted after a lot of the front runners, and McLaren hoping that these fresher tyres of his will give him a chance to get past Max Verstappen, but he's nowhere near making a move on the Kemmel Straight on this occasion. Now, I said Daniel Ricciardo had pitted earlier. Williams are covering now that pit stop with Alex Albon into the pits, and we can just see a look up there from Lando Norris, and that would have cost him valuable time in his pursuit of Max Verstappen.
And made his tyres very dirty there, and also it can be puncture territory if you're not careful, where shrapnel from support races tend to get swept up or thrown towards, so it's not a good place to be. At the moment, he's regrouped.
Easier to say, Martin, he's just going to be patient on this glorious summer's afternoon, but it's very difficult to be patient at 200 miles an hour. Here's Yuki Tsunoda on Logan Sargent towards Le Combe, and is he going to try and nose ahead going through that chicane? Is there room for him to do it? Not quite. Logan Sargent fends off Yuki Tsunoda and keeps hold of 17th place. Ted, down to you.
So with Max Verstappen still behind George Russell, albeit 2 seconds, so he's dropped back a bit now, hasn't he, Verstappen, from Russell. And the other Mercedes, it's all smooth sailing for Lewis Hamilton at the moment, keeping the gap to Charles Leclerc at a couple of seconds. And as we just clock on to lap 25, it's 20 laps to go. Lewis has just been told by his engineer, around 20 laps to go, and that is precisely the distance that Sainz did on his hard tyres. So Lewis being told, this is all working out well for us, think it's working out well for you, and the second pit stop window is just about to open.
You had a chat with Bono on your grid walk, Martin Brundle. Peter Bonington, Lewis Hamilton's race engineer. Did he seem a confident man today?
He seemed very calm, didn't he? And that's the sort of radio call we used to hear from Lewis when he was dominating championships, isn't it? And you know what? He was pretty much fastest on the previous lap. There are some like Sainz and Perez on fresher tyres, late 1 minute 47s, but it was a 48.0 for Lewis Hamilton, 108 seconds, and that's very good pace up front. So we need to start almost changing our perspective here of, can anybody start catching Hamilton and Leclerc?
As I mentioned at the top of this race, 11 years to the day since Lewis Hamilton won his first race for Mercedes in Hungary in 2013. He is leading here, the Belgian Grand Prix, a race that he has won 4 times in the past. Could he be on for a 5th this afternoon? Bernie Collins, to you.
Yeah, so Perez is very slowly closing the gap to Hamilton, Leclerc, Piastri.
Leclerc's coming in.
I was just about to say, they're going to have to decide whether they're going to have to cover this or not from Perez and get that final hard tyre onto the end.
So Lewis Hamilton continues on his way, and the gap was of just over 2 seconds when Leclerc dived into the pits. It's a long lap here, Martin, but 2 seconds might be marginal for Ferrari to get the undercut done here if Lewis pits at the end of this lap.
It's what we know as hand time, isn't it? From the past, this is an in-lap that Lewis needs to pull out all the stops that have to cover that stop of Leclerc's off. They're all in the 147s now. It's a 3.4 second stop for Charles Leclerc, which is not particularly special. So that helps Mercedes' cause a little bit. So Leclerc now needs to pin it if he wants to get track position.
If Mercedes think that they've got the tyres to go to the end of the race by pitting at the end of this lap, I think that slow stop might just have made their decision for them, because they can pit and stay out ahead of Charles Leclerc, and then there's one less job for Lewis Hamilton to do between now and the end of the race in terms of cars he might or might not need to overtake. Why was it a slow stop, I wonder?
It's on his marks. Don't know, do you? Just slow, wasn't it? I don't think there was anything.
Rear left might have been a bit slow.
A bit late to the party. Yeah, it just didn't. It looked a tiny bit lumpy. It didn't look like there was a specific problem, did it?
Daniel Ricciardo trying to overtake Kevin Magnussen. That's not really Ricciardo's race. Alex Albon is Ricciardo's race, and after that pit stop before Albon, he is ahead, as you can see on the track. Mercedes are boxing Lewis Hamilton. Not a surprise, that one. And they just hope at the moment, Lewis Hamilton fans, Mercedes fans, that they can just have a nice, easy pit stop and get back out ahead of Charles Leclerc. They're thinking about a one-stop on George Russell's side of the garage. Definitely a two-stop for Lewis Hamilton. Piastri goes through, takes the lead of this race. Russell goes through, Verstappen goes through, Norris goes through, Sainz and Charles Leclerc is just going through the final chicane. 2.4 seconds, so 1 second faster than Leclerc's pit stop. That's Carlos Sainz making his way around the source. Charles Leclerc is just behind him. Out into the sunshine comes Lewis Hamilton. He is ahead comfortably of Charles Leclerc. That's the man he's racing.
It is. That's the net lead then again. Piastri is the new leader, but will stop again. Well, if he doesn't, he'll be short of grip at the end of the Grand Prix. So that was key then. Mercedes reacted quickly. He's about to catch the teammate of the man pursuing him. But he's obliged to get out of... Well, no, he's not, of course, is he? Because he's not being lapped. It's for position. So Sainz can come into play quite well here for the Ferrari team.
Yeah, can Carlos Sainz hold Lewis Hamilton up, or on the fresher tyres will Lewis Hamilton breeze past him quite easily? Can Sainz play the team game to disrupt Hamilton in favour of Charles Leclerc? Here's Alex Albon. Through Radion we go. We saw Daniel Ricciardo get past Kevin Magnussen on the previous lap. Albon's trying to do the same thing here. And you can see how he's gaining with that slipstream and the DRS. And he's ahead going into the chicane. Just a little bit unsteady, but he keeps that place.
Yeah, and he's leaving more than a car's width on the inside. Didn't want to get tagged there, so good driving. You've got to do all that. Keep an eye on your rival at a couple of 100 miles an hour and not get the braking point wrong. So you need, I don't know, 3 eyes at that point, basically, to get that right. And good move there from Alex Albon. But this Lewis Hamilton, that victory at Silverstone, it's just revitalised him, isn't it? He drove a great race in Hungary last weekend, and just really seems to have sort of energised him again.
Brilliant. 200th career podium for Lewis Hamilton in Hungary, and has moved into the top 6
This
of the
looks good,
championship
Oscar.
for the
This
first
looks
time
good.
this
Let's
season.
go.
Yeah, that's quick. 47-0 for Piastri, so he's been holding back.
Beware the quiet man, Oscar Piastri, who's just been released now into some lovely clean air, leading the Grand Prix, and has just banged in the fastest lap of the race.
Leclerc's on a 47-0 as well. We'll find out what Hamilton's going to be doing on those tyres a lap later, but Hamilton personal best in the first sector. So that's sort of the benchmark time. I don't think that's going to shock anybody in front of him, not the 2 drivers in front of him, the 47-0, but that's really handy from Piastri.
Meanwhile, Piastri's teammates...
Last lap was purple. It goes without saying, but clean air is king.
He rather likes it out in front, the 115th different winner in Formula One. This is Hamilton now right on the tail of Carlos Sainz.
It is, isn't it? So Sainz is doing his job for the team, as Leclerc, though, still 2.5 seconds behind. And this will affect, obviously, Hamilton's opening lap to get a feel for just how fast he can be at this phase.
I'm just about to say, Piastri's teammate, Lando Norris, still behind Max Verstappen. And within DRS range, but not close enough to try and make a move. And I wonder, Bernie Collins, as Carlos Sainz is about to stop, how this is playing out with McLaren's strategy this afternoon.
Yeah, very important from Piastri, that information. The purple is the best information you can get on the pit wall of how the tyres are performing. And it's very interesting, the comment from Russell, consider the one stop. He's on 17-lap old hard tyres, and he thinks they can go for the next 15 laps. So can Piastri do something similar? The purple certainly would say so.
It would say, it suggests so. Verstappen into the pits, Sainz into the pits. Piastri leads, Russell, Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Perez, and Verstappen in 7th, with Carlos Sainz behind him.
So we know Verstappen's got to go onto the mediums. The purple, if you're new to Formula One, welcome, but the purple means you're the fastest driver. Magenta, I think, is the official colour they give it in terms of you've just done the fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
This is a fascinating race this afternoon, with different strategies playing out, tyre offsets, they call it, people pitting earlier than others. Oscar Piastri, a new leader of this race. Carlos Sainz has led the race. Charles Leclerc has led the race. Lewis Hamilton has led the race. Who is going to take the checkered flag as the winner? Ted, down to you.
A couple of things. First of all, George Russell's about to be undercut. Obviously, Max Verstappen just pitted onto the medium tyres. Monster outlap. George is going to be undercut, so maybe he'll try. He has no option, maybe, Bernie, to go for the end. And Lando Norris, I thought that message from Piastri about free air in front of us for our car is king. That's what just hasn't worked for Lando today. He's always been behind another car in front of him.
Yeah,
and now he's pitting.
He is finally managing to pit to cover off Max Verstappen, but it might be a little too late once again for him on this one. Verstappen's just got purple in the middle sector. Piastri and Russell go through. Norris makes his way into the pit lane. This is crucial for his race as to where he comes out. And it won't be ahead of Max Verstappen, will it though, be ahead of Carlos Sainz? I think that's what McLaren are hoping for here. Lovely stop by the McLaren team. They've done their bit, 2.4 seconds. Sainz just making his way through the final chicane as the two Red Bulls come down the main pit straight here. On the inside, pinch off a few metres if you're Lando Norris coming back out onto the racetrack, and he is then ahead of Carlos Sainz. But once again, Martin, he's got to try and get past Max Verstappen.
Yes, Perez then a little bit out of sync now, as Verstappen has to try to catch him. And remember, they pitted Perez quite early. He's undercut his teammate. And again, I think the team will now want him to move out of the way. PDQ.
The difference for Norris this time around, of course, yes, he's got to try and get past Max Verstappen, but on this occasion, Martin, they're on different tyres.
Yeah, agreed.
And we'll find out whether the medium or the hard was the better choice.
Yeah, they've asked Lando on the, and he'll let him through down here, presumably. Yes, he does. They've asked Lando on the radio, any problems? Nope. So that's all she wrote at the moment for Lando. Obviously lost out, dipping his left rear in the gravel on the exit of the first corner of the Grand Prix. And it's sort of compromising for the rest of the afternoon, hasn't it?
It has, rather. They've had to rethink the strategy on that one. Oscar Piastri is coming in, which means George Russell will be the latest driver to lead this Belgian Grand Prix. The Mercedes 1-2, with Hamilton now running in second place. Charles Leclerc chasing him in third. Then Max Verstappen. Now he's past Sergio Perez. Can Perez hold up Lando Norris? Oh, Piastri went very long indeed there. That slowed him down by about 2 seconds.
That's really bad news for him, because we've got he's got to try and stay ahead of Perez and Verstappen.
This is going to be really, really tight, isn't it? As rounds at 80 kilometres an hour Piastri goes, he does manage to stay ahead of Verstappen and Perez and Norris, but he went way, way long in his box there, and Lando Norris Norris is now right on the tail of Sergio Perez. I wonder, could Perez hold up Lando Norris and disturb his race? You wouldn't imagine he's going to hold him up too much here. The Red Bull ahead, but as we emerge from behind the trees, the McLaren is alongside and then ahead. Didn't hold him up at all there. Lando Norris back into 6th place. Ted Kravitz, down to you.
Yeah, Oscar went so hot into the pit box, he absolutely buffed into the guy with the front jack, and it was that man who actually absorbed all the impact and minimised the effect. Yes, he lost a second and a half, 2 seconds, but great stopping work for that McLaren front jack man. He absolutely took the impact, and really the McLaren crew dealt very, very well with that, with Oscar's little mistake there.
Totally agree with you, Ted. They did well to cope with that. He locked his right front on the apron just as he was coming into the pit box area, and that is why he went deep, Piastri.
I once spoke to a front jack man about what he did. I said, I think you're the bravest of the brave. He said, yeah, I'm normally okay until you can see the whites of the driver's eyes. That's when I panic.
George, just confirming you're happy to stay out. We've got 3 cars now.
Yes.
Window. Copy.
Russell going to the ends then on a set of tyres he's already been on for 21 laps. He does like these kind of Hail Mary, go long strategies.
Well, I said he still likes it at the end of the race, but he was absolutely crystal clear to his team, wasn't he? His tyres feel right. Leave it with me. And it, you know, maybe that's his best shot anyway. Norris smashes the fastest lap of the race as he's now back within DRS of his friend and rival Max Verstappen, and we know what happened the last time.
And these tyres are robust. Happy to push on them.
Good word, robust.
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear.
The medium, a little less robust, and that's what Max Verstappen is going to have to put up with. But he will stay ahead into Les Combes for at least another lap. We're watching George Russell making his way down the hill towards Prix, as now we see Verstappen and Norris making their way to Rivage. The track dropping all the way down to its lowest point at Stavelot, from the highest to the lowest. It's a drop of 102 metres.
Yeah, so he's got to push hard. But as I say, we know what happened when these two tried to overtake each other in Austria, but that was for a different scenario, different type of racetrack, and that was for the lead, of course. But on these tyres and in these 2 cars, and the talent they both have, you'd think it's advantage Lando Norris here. And then Norris is not that far.
I think Lando is pushing lightly, so let me know what you want me to do.
Yeah, we're happy for you to push now, Max, as well. Happy to push.
Yeah, and he's going to need to push as well. Max said it, Christian Horner said it, Red Bull haven't got the car here that they had 12 months ago. And this is a crucial battle, I think, for the destiny of how this championship plays out after the summer break. If Norris can get ahead of Verstappen, go into that break and close his lead down, albeit by a fraction, once again, what a summer smile, for instance, that might give him. If Verstappen can keep Norris at bay, well, that's damage limitation for Red Bull at a racetrack where they've had to take that grid penalty.
Yeah, Norris is in a nice zone here for not too much dirty air going through over Madillon, and then get the rear wing open, but he's a long way behind. We know Max has now been freed up to use his full potential of performance, and we're too far away. But yeah, it is, we're way too far away actually. So Max now is able to step on it to these hard compound tyres. It's only well, 12 laps including this one to go. It's a long way here at Spa, isn't it? But you can tell that there's a lot of grip out there. This is quite a punishing race. Hamilton came on the radio ever so slightly breathless. So was Max Verstappen. I would imagine the energy going through the drivers out there with the kind of G-forces and the grip level they've got on this dry afternoon. No safety cars to give them any kind of breather. And also super competitive in the top 8. The drivers are having to go for it.
They know they've been in a race today, and there are battles going on throughout here. We're focusing a little bit as the cameras are picking them up on Verstappen and Norris. Piastri is gaining on Charles Leclerc. That battle is going to carry on too. And out in front, George Russell leads this race just under 6 seconds from his teammate Lewis Hamilton. I'm not suggesting that's going to be a battle when Hamilton gets on Russell. Even if Mercedes didn't say move aside, Hamilton's tyres are that much fresher.
They are, but George is still in the low way. He's just done a personal best, but it's 7/10, 3/4 of a second slower than his teammate who's catching him, Lewis Hamilton. But is that enough pace to keep George Russell on the podium?
If Lewis Hamilton passed George Russell and didn't disappear off into the sunshine, kept Russell in DRS to aid his pace, that could keep George Russell on the podium.
Knowing that he wouldn't be attacked. Second, third, or fourth.
All depends who's third.
Yeah.
And it might be the papaya in a little while, rather than the scarlet red. And there's Verstappen and Norris. And Verstappen will be deploying extra energy from the electrical systems in his bid to keep Lando Norris at bay, and gets the benefit as well of a better car for the middle sector of the track where we are now. McLaren taking off a bit of rear wing to give them pace down the straights. Red Bull protecting their tyres a bit to go with that strategy of keeping 2 medium tyres for this race through the high-speed corners of the second part of this lap.
So it really depends. I mean, Russell is 14 seconds ahead of Verstappen with 11 laps to go, including this one. They're catching him about a second a lap, so Russell's going to be under pressure from that little gang of Verstappen and Norris as well.
How much quicker than him? Am I targeting to beat him or not? It's close. It is close. That's it.
He's not talking about Charles Leclerc, is he?
He's talking about his teammate George Russell.
Well, I think he's also talking about that man there. I think he's talking about Oscar Piastri. If you look at the pace, and we can do it quite easily here, Hamilton 146.8 last lap, Leclerc 147.0, Piastri 146.5. I think Hamilton feels Piastri is way more of a threat here than either his teammate or Charles Leclerc. Ted Kravitz, are you monitoring team radio?
I am. The beginning of that message was when Lewis was told about Piastri's lap time, and he said, that's insane. How close is it going to be? Then you heard the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, they'll move George away. But if George does then rejoin behind Lewis, or if Lewis catches and then overtakes George, which surely he will do on
Here comes Piastri, Ted. Here comes Piastri into the chicane. He's taken the first opportunity, but he can't make it stick. And he definitely had a go there at Charles Leclerc and just missed out. Back down to you.
George can then do a job for Lewis, which he surely will, just slowing up Leclerc and eventually Piastri, depending on which one is behind Lewis.
Piastri is joining the party here at the last opportunity and is giving
10 laps to go. 10 of you finest, mate, come on.
And that is just a battle for 5th place, but it's an important championship battle because Verstappen is keeping his nearest rival very much at bay. What a race this is, Martin Brundle.
Yeah, well, it should evolve beautifully at the end, shouldn't it? Because Hamilton will catch Russell. If Piastri can get past Leclerc, Leclerc's been struggling a little bit for raw pace, but at the moment he's kind of there or thereabouts. But if Piastri passes him, I think it'll change the face of the race a little bit.
Certainly will. George Russell, 24 laps on these hard tyres, trying to go to the end. Lance Stroll in 10th has been on, in 11th I should say, has been on his tyres for 21 laps. I wonder if he's trying to go on 22 laps now. He's trying to go to the end of the race as well to try and pick up a second, 10th place finish in 2 races. Here comes Piastri again, yeah. He's much closer going into the source, coming out of it, gets a much better exit. He's going to be a threat here.
He's going to have a great chance at the top of the hill, isn't he? So slipstreaming down the hill, he needs to be neat and tidy to pin the throttle. It'll move around a little bit in the turbulent area. There's enough down for. Now he's got a great chance. He's in the zone.
Winner last weekend in Hungary. He's trying to get onto the podium this time around. Oscar Piastri with that DRS advantage goes to the left of Charles Leclerc, goes wheel to wheel with Leclerc through the chicane. Neither driver giving this one up, and Piastri wins the battle. He is up into the podium places. He is flying out there.
And it's just put him really in play in this Grand Prix. And that'll catch Mercedes' attention. They're 1 and 2 at the moment with Russell and Hamilton on different strategies, of course. But suddenly, Piastri, who's flying, has just released himself to have a go at the 2 Mercedes.
This was brilliant. brilliant through the chicane. Leclerc knew he was coming, tried to defend, didn't give it up until the very last moment, made it difficult, not impossible. Super racing from both drivers.
Yeah, and they didn't get silly with it either, did they, and start breaking bits off their cars. So good, hard racing.
So the gap between Russell, who leads, and Piastri, 9.5 seconds at the end of lap 35. The gap between Hamilton and Piastri, 5.3 seconds at the end of lap 35. And that's the gap that we'll be monitoring here, and the gap that Mercedes will definitely be monitoring, because Piastri is the threat here.
Yeah, Piastri's kind of lost a lap of charging at them with the overtake there. And side-by-side action. So now he's got a lot more pace, Piastri. He starts delivering it now. He can put Mercedes under pressure.
He's only 5.5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. He lost out 2/10 trying to overtake Charles Leclerc on that lap, which isn't very much.
No, it's not, but it wasn't a lap where he closed on them either. So it's what I say, he lost a lap of attack, but at least it's given him some free air as king, as the young Aussie says.
You know what I'm saying about George Russell getting a bit of DRS advantage behind Lewis Hamilton. Well, Lewis is going to get a bit of DRS advantage when he closes up to George Russell here as well. Russell could still win this race if there are no team orders at Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton can't find a way past his teammate. George Russell can still go on and win this race.
Yeah, I mean, George has took lap 26 on these tyres now, doing a fine job. He'll get the fleet operators award of the month, won't he, for keeping those tyres so well.
They look okay.
But Lewis has been relentlessly catching at 7:10, so he will be with him before a lap or two before the end of the Grand Prix.
Lap 37 of 44. And the top three covered by 9 seconds. Piastri moving clear of Charles Leclerc. Behind the top four, Verstappen still keeping Lando Norris very much at bay, and the strategy hasn't worked out for Lando Norris ever since he was undercut by Verstappen in the first round of the pit stops. The gap was 3.7 seconds out in front at the end of the last lap. As Lewis Hamilton crosses the line, it's now down to 2.8 seconds, and the gap between Hamilton and Piastri, 5.6 seconds. Hamilton was faster on that lap than the Australian was.
Yeah, if Piastri had a load of speed, he didn't show it on that lap. So that'll be a bit of a sigh of relief for Mercedes, because at the end of the day, Piastri's still quite a long way behind as those laps start reeling off.
Ted Kravitz, down to you. Talking of Australians, the other Australians moved into the points-paying positions. Daniel Ricciardo was chasing down Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll, like his teammate Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, trying to go to the end on a one-stop. But Ricciardo, on fresher tyres, has caught and passed Stroll and is now 7 seconds behind Alonso. But Ricciardo set to score a point at this stage.
He certainly is. 147.4 for the last lap, and he's a second a lap faster than Fernando Alonso ahead of him. Lance Stroll now down to the 150s. They might need to box him. I think those tyres have gone. Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, who led this race at one stage, started on a hard tyre and went longer than anyone else, is now catching Sergio Perez in the battle for 7th place. Red Bull with McLaren in 3rd place and Lando Norris currently in 6th. They need Perez to score as many points as he possibly can in the championship. The lead, only 51 points going into this race, with a lot to come in the second half of the season.
It's not actually been a stellar race for Sergio, has it? He's now 21 seconds off the lead, having started on the front row of the grid, and hasn't had any specific problems. They did pit him very early for the second stop, but presumably Russell will let Hamilton through pretty quickly when he gets there, because there's just no point in either of them losing any time whatsoever, and they might just be able to cover off Oscar Piastri, who's now in the 46. He just took a second out of Russell's lead, 7.4 off the lead with 6 laps to go, including the one they're on. Wow, this is going to be, the top three are going to be so close when it gets to the end of the Grand Prix.
And the 2 cars in 7th and 8th are pretty close as well. And where we saw Oscar Piastri get past Charles Leclerc a couple of laps ago, I think we're about to see Carlos Sainz getting past Sergio Perez. Sainz has been closing and closing, and he'll get the DRS advantage going along the Kemmel Straight towards Lake Como as they climb and the track rises towards its highest points. Sainz is closing in on Sergio Perez, really fancies that 7th place. Perez makes it difficult, Sainz goes round the outside, he's ahead. As they move into the chicane, Perez was powerless to defend.
That's sort of, yeah, that's the tail end of the leading back now, isn't it? So Perez inhabiting that, Sainz through, poor good swap for him. This really compromised his afternoon, and a little off, of course, through the gravel, but I don't think that compromised him. But now 7 seconds covers the top 4.
Yeah, meanwhile, Verstappen's catching Leclerc, and Norris is very much catching Verstappen 0.3 faster through the first sector on this lap, and then Verstappen gets that 0.3 back in the second sector. But Leclerc's under a bit of pressure here from both Verstappen and Norris behind him. Ferrari thought that they might be on for a podium here today. It's not the way it's sadly turning out for them. 5 laps to go, and the gap is down to just over a second. George Russell going long on a one-stop strategy, leading this race, but for how much longer?
Mercedes has got to say to them, yeah, let him through, and Lewis, give him your DRS. We talked about this earlier, didn't we? Give him your DRS, and let's make this a glorious Mercedes 1-2. And just hold off Piastri, but they need to do that in a really clean and neat place, which is up here. You don't want Russell to have to go onto the dirty part of the track.
It's a good lap, Oscar. Hamilton's catching Russell ahead. There's going to be action ahead. We want to be there.
0.6 faster on that last lap. Is into the bus stop chicane, is that the place to swap it around, because then you get the DRS straight away?
I think it's yes, that's not a bad shout actually. Down the pit straight, elegantly down the pit straight, and then DRS him all the way to the flag if you can. Piastri's coming at them now, so 6 seconds covers the top 3.
And there is George Russell, and there is Lewis Hamilton. George Russell, who in the past here at Spa finished second for his maiden podium in Formula 1 in a race that wasn't really a race, where the only excitement happened when Martin Brundle went from his suit to his motorcycle wet weather gear during the course of a commentary, if you remember that day behind the safety car. Today in the bright sunshine, Russell looks like he's on for another podium, and he's having to work hard for it, and we're allowing overtaking today because it's not pouring down the rain. Norris is closer to Verstappen by 1/10 of a second. Hamilton closes in on George Russell under braking. Through then, the final chicane they go, and the gap has come down to a few car lengths. Russell leads from Lewis
Just
Hamilton.
make sure you give each other plenty of space.
So they're allowed to race.
Wow. We shall see. If they're allowed to race, absolutely fantastic. Well done, Mercedes. But you get the feeling George Russell hasn't quite got the grip to fend it off as much as he potentially would have liked.
Fair dues. So, yeah, catching is one thing, passing is quite another, as Murray Walker would say. But you have to think that Lewis has got the pace, but they've got Piastri covered. And that last lap, Piastri took 1.2 seconds out of Russell at 7/10 out of Hamilton. So they've just got to be careful they don't score an own goal here.
Behind this, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Lando Norris separated by about 1.5 seconds in the battle for 4th place. As we drop down into Prix and swing left-handed through that glorious corner at about 160 miles an hour. George Russell knows that his teammate is there and could be getting a very nice slipstream up through Blanchimont in a few moments' time towards the bus stop chicane and potentially mounting a challenge to that Russell lead.
Yeah, so Russell's tyres done 30 laps of this challenging racetrack. Hamilton just 14 laps.
It's a super effort, this, from George Russell. It really is, converting from a 2-stop to a 1-stop to give him the best possible chance of a victory or definitely a podium. He's in the lead, but for how much longer? And he looks to be holding Lewis Hamilton off going into that bus stop chicane. And is comfortably as well. Now, Hamilton gets DRS, drag reduction system, assistance, 12 kilometers an hour down that main straight to propel him even closer to his teammate ahead. Mercedes running 1 and 2 here, and as we approach the summer break, what a turnaround it's been for them during the course of this season, with victories for both drivers and a second on the cards, but for who?
Piastri's catching them like crazy as well, and I think Hamilton is in the sweet spot there.
Hamilton, who waited so long for a victory, is about to challenge his teammate. No, just backs out of it and thinks, no, I'm not going to take any undue risks. He knows that a victory could well be his here, but he doesn't want to do anything too silly at this stage.
So George knows track position. He now knows track position and plenty of battery. It was enough to defend up into turn 5. Piastri has taken a little bit more out on the first sector, and the 3.5 seconds now covers the top 3. There's Piastri.
Piastri gaining on both Mercedes. Verstappen and Norris now about a second behind Charles Leclerc, and continuing their fight currently through Pouan. There's about, what, 3-4 car lengths here between George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes have had 59 previous 1-2 finishes. The last one was Sao Paulo in 2022 when Russell beat Hamilton. Can Hamilton try and get past Russell here as they now power their way through Blanchimont towards the bus stop chicane? Is Lewis Hamilton close enough to try and mount a challenge at one of the 6 braking zones on this track? I don't think he is, Martin.
Well, Russell's just he's got good traction out of the corners. His tyres are fine. He's got to get nice traction out of La Source, get himself a good run down the hill as Piastri gets ever closer to the pair of them.
And you can just see in the background the red of Charles Leclerc. Oh, as they go a little bit deep into that corner. And then Verstappen and Norris, who is much closer to Verstappen than he has been so far in this latest challenge.
They both went a bit deep, especially Lewis. I think it's cost him a little bit. He's not so close on the way into Eau Rouge, or out of it indeed. So this is another lap that goes past without an overtaking opportunity.
It's another twist, another surprise here. It looks like George Russell and Team Orders might allow Lewis Hamilton to get past, given how long Russell has been on those tyres. But they've decided at Mercedes, Piastri is too far back to challenge their 1-2, so they're letting them scrap it out. And this is exactly what you want to see as Sergio Perez pits, and that'll be for soft tyres to try and get the fastest lap in this race and take it away from Lando Norris, who's currently got the fastest lap in his possession.
Yeah, the laps are charging down now, aren't they? Piastri's tantalisingly close, but George Russell now knows exactly what he needs to do to stop Lewis Hamilton from taking him at the top of the hill in turn 5.
It's the Russell hustle against hammer time, and this is absolutely thrilling, as here we go again, foot flat to the floor for the 2 Mercedes climbing up the hill, and Lewis Hamilton trying to get a slipstream, trying to use that toe. He's not making an impression on George Russell ahead of him. Half a second the gap, and Hamilton needs that down to about 2/10, I think.
Russell knew these tyres would go, didn't he? Leave it to me, leave them with me. We're going to one stop, but he's still got great traction coming out into the final lap of the final chicane.
Final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix, 1.6 seconds covers the top 3.
Lewis locked up a little bit.
And has that cost Lewis Hamilton his final chance to deny George Russell here today? Dropping then down the hill through Eau Rouge we go, 190 miles an hour. Hamilton is a long way back from making this an easy overtake on George Russell, and I don't think he's close enough to try and mount a challenge. He's had one tentative little look at trying to take the lead here, and there's no way past in the chicane with Piastri lying in wait if either of these 2 make a mistake.
Yeah, it's all played out beautifully. Well done to George Russell. He has made this happen, and he's stuck with the tyres. And when it mattered, he found a way to keep his much faster teammate behind him, and Piastri's just not close enough. Extraordinary race.
George Russell started 6th on the grid. That's where he finished here last year as well. Is he going to go from 6th to 1st with an heroic one-stop strategy and running those tyres for 34 laps? Piastri's doing all he can to try and stay within these 2. Hamilton being disturbed a little bit by the turbulent air coming off the race leader's rear wing, and that race leader is George Russell. And in a few moments' time, he might be celebrating once again in Formula One. And for the third time in Formula One, celebrating a victory. He inherited a victory in Austria, didn't he, when Verstappen and Norris tangled in the closing stages. He has absolutely fought his way to victory here today. This has been outstanding for George Russell and for Mercedes. It's a 1-2. Russell wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Hamilton comes home to finish in second. Piastri completes the podium, and behind the top three, even closer for fourth, Leclerc, fifth for Verstappen, and sixth for Norris. What an end to this first part of the season for Mercedes, who started on the back foot in Bahrain and have finished up with a 1-2 and winners again.
And a well-earned one too. The car looked great all the way through, and then George Russell called it, didn't he?
Come on! Oh, boys and girls, what a performance!
Whoa, well done. Awesome work.
Oh!
Mercedes.
Oh, yes! Amazing strategy, guys.
He found enough grip at the end. I mean, Hamilton was catching him between 3/4 and a second per lap. They say it takes half a second advantage to pass somebody here. But when he got there, Russell just kept his head and found a technique to be fast in all the right places. Perez did steal the fastest lap point on the final tour, but finishes 8th. And that surely is George Russell's best victory so far in Formula One, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What a way to send yourself into the summer for George Russell and for Mercedes. That's 3 wins in 4 races now for Mercedes. We talk about McLaren have been the challengers. Mercedes have absolutely found their golden touch just before the summer break. Lewis Hamilton, he knows he's been in a fight in a race today. He led the Grand Prix. It looked so comfortable for him. And then his teammate called, what do they call it, when the singer calls an audible? I'll do something a little bit different from the set list. I'll come up with a classic of my own. Perez, as you say, got the fastest lap. Alonso, 9th. Esteban Ocon, 10th. And Daniel Ricciardo finished outside of the points despite running in that top 10 in the latter stages.
Yeah. 2 groups of 3 then in the top 6. So close together at the end of the Grand Prix. And wow, 1.1. Mercedes aced it, because another lap and Piastri would have been all over the back of them. But they kept their nerve. This young man found some grip from somewhere. 34 laps into I mean, that's 3/4. He's done over 3/4 of the Grand Prix on those tyres.
Oh, incredible. Hamilton comes over to say well done. Norfolk Day was yesterday. I think it will be a weekend after this. The boy from Kings Lynn, George Russell. Very, very happy. Will Lewis Hamilton feel, though, that as he was leading the race, his teammate had a strategy that worked out to be better and denied and cost him?
No, I don't think so, because I think the driver called that as much as anything, and it wasn't like he was undercut. It wasn't they brought Russell in and passed him with some strategy. He said, I can get, the tyres are good. Let's stick with this. Let's stick with this. And I don't think Lewis can and won't begrudge that in the slightest.
And Max Verstappen finishes down in 5th place and extends his championship lead by a couple of points over Lando Norris. Strategy didn't play out for Lando today. They gave him the work to do to overtake Verstappen, but in the end he just couldn't do it despite having the fresher tyres.
No, Lando just had a bit of a scruffy that just wouldn't fall into place for him. And there's the top 3 crossing the line.
Amazing strategy. You guys are the best. Come on.
It's a pretty good drive.
And then the next.
Yeah, that was right. Yes! Woohoo! Oh, gosh.
Tire whisperer.
Tire whisperer.
He used to say that about Alex Albon, once his mate. I think that's absolutely right description.
Yeah, because in the traction zones where you'd normally expect them to be hurting at that age, the tyres, then he was releasing off the corners, the slow corners, really well. And then just finding enough, wasn't he? Up Eau Rouge through Radillon, using his battery, using all of his guile, really. And that's what it took to win that, was guile.
And he jumps into the arms of his team to celebrate there. That's a tough old race for every driver, I do believe. New resurfaced asphalt here at Spa. Lap times faster. They've been in a race, haven't they? Gunther Steiner, former team boss, now media superstar, has the microphone in his hand.
I mean, again, a podium, you keep on bringing them. Did you think you could get the Mercedes after the last stop?
Honestly, yes, I thought I could, but yeah, I mean, clean air was such a big difference for me. Once I got a little bit of clean air in the middle stint, I picked up a lot of pace and managed to get a nice tyre delta for the last stop, but really didn't need tyre delta, you just needed to keep going. As George showed, so no, happy with the result. I think we managed the race very well. Yeah, that's the second or third time this year we've had a flat track, so we're quite happy with that next time, but no, very happy with the results.
What was missing in the end not to get to P1? What do you think was the strategy? Was it the speed? What was it?
I think just not quite enough speed. I think it took me a couple of laps to get past Charles and really overheated the tyres doing that. But yeah, I mean, really the pace which we were staying out there on one set of parts was the right thing to do. So we just didn't quite have enough pace to mow down. Even Lewis didn't quite have enough. So I think we did a lot of things right, gave ourselves the best opportunities we could, but yeah, wasn't quite enough.
It must be a good feeling to win for the solid break with the podium and getting ready for afterwards. How do you feel about the next races coming up?
Positive. Yeah, I mean, it's been a really good couple of weeks for myself and the whole team, of course. A lot of points. We still made inroads on Red Bull today, and that's a really positive thing going into the break. I think everyone is looking forward to a bit of a break. I know I am, so I can heal up a little bit, but so it's been a fun couple of weeks, and some time relaxing and coming back even stronger in the second half.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Enjoy the summer break, Oscar.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Luis. Congratulations to P2. No, it's a fantastic result for Mercedes against you. I mean, did you expect this?
No, we definitely didn't. And first I have to say congratulations to George and to the team. No, we had such a disaster on Friday. The car was really nowhere, and we made some changes. Hard to see what it's going to feel like, also because of the way yesterday. But the car was fantastic today, and we really owe it to everyone both here doing a solid job through the pit stops and strategy, and yeah, you guys make it happen.
Yeah, as I said, it's a fantastic race. How tough were the last laps behind George? How much did it take to come back and guide you?
I was trying to get closer, obviously, but George did a great job on going wrong on the tyres. Every stint I had tyres left for the team on me, so
George, I'm almost speechless, you know, from the race. I mean, that takes a lot, but
just felt great. I just kept saying, I think we can do the one stop. I think we can do the one stop. And Trashy did a really great job. And also, well done to Lewis because he really controlled that race and circumstances slightly different. I'm sure he would have got the victory. But 1-2 for the team was such an awesome result and such a great way to go to the break.
So who was the genius behind this one stop? Who was the genius behind that one?
I mean, I was focusing a lot during the race, so I'll have to listen to the radio comes back, but it was, the team effort. Joey, Leo, all the Trashy guys did an amazing job, and always it's that team effort. So we rolled the dice, but it was only possible because the car was feeling really great, and the pace was there, so
I'm sure now you cannot wait to get into the summer break over and go to Zandvoort for the next race. I think because I think you are really hyped up to go to the next race because I think Mercedes as a team now is in a good position to win more. I mean, it's your first one this year, but
three wins in 6, I think it is for us now. I'd want another race next weekend, to be honest. Just feeling so good. The team's been working so hard, and so well deserved for everybody back at Brackley Christmas.
Perfect. Congratulations again. Enjoy the summer break and see you in Zandvoort.
Gunther Steiner with the questions, George Russell with the answers as the first driver to win multiple races other than Max Verstappen since Sergio Perez last year. Well, that's what's happening in the cool-down room. Not exactly chatty. Maybe Toto Wolff is. He's with Ted Kravitz.
Toto, unbelievable result for the team. After Friday practice, you were nowhere. By your own admission, you were nowhere on pace. And it's a 1-2.
It's incredible. We were nowhere. We changed a few things on the car. And today we've been clearly ahead of everyone.
And George made it happen for him. There were no orders. They were free to race. Lewis on much fresher tyres. How did George keep Lewis behind?
Yeah, we didn't think it was possible, but at a certain stage we said let's stay out because we were going to finish 5th anyway in both scenarios, and he stayed out, and at the end he made it last.
Yeah, congratulations. We'll catch up with you later. What a result for Mercedes. Thank you.
Toto Wolff with Ted Kravitz, and then it's time for the podium. 10th consecutive podium for McLaren.
Yeah, Lewis is miffed with that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He feels that he parked too much grip in the pit lane at each pit stop. He's not happy about that.
but they pitted in to cover Charles Leclerc, who was his main rival for the second stop.
Yeah, Toto was saying there, we thought George was going to be fifth, whether we did or didn't stop, so that shows you the outperformance there.
And George Russell then, first driver other than Max Verstappen to win multiple Grand Prix in a season. He's still on the podium here for the first time after finishing as a runner-up. With the sunshine at Spa this year, he stands on the top step of the podium as a three-time winner in Formula One. George Russell summed that day up for Aston Martin. What a 44 laps.
Yeah, it was good racing, wasn't it? Two laps of Group 3 over the line in the end, and George pulled the rabbit out of the hat, basically. Yeah. Kept the tyre whisperer, call it what you want. Somehow kept those tyres intact, realised, and he said when he finally turned up in the winner's room here, the top three, the track kept gripping up. I felt it'd be all right. And Lewis is saying, every time I stopped, I had loads of grip left. He obviously is feeling they shouldn't have done that, but I don't think he's altogether pleased with finishing second to his teammate. But it's a great job for the Mercedes team to tune that car up since a difficult Friday.
And the Constructors' Trophy received by Joey McMillan, the senior race strategist, I suppose. Quite fitting the way that the strategy swung back and forth. Lewis Hamilton picks up the runners-up trophy here at Spa. And Oscar Piastri on the podium once more, coming home third for McLaren. Max Verstappen increases his lead in the Drivers' Championship, finishes fifth overall. McLaren closed to within 43 points of Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. 44 points up for grabs at every race. And that's it. Now for Formula One for a few weeks. The summer break is on the cards. We can all go and have a lie down. But you know what? After that, I'll come back here tomorrow for another race. That was epic.